Eating a lot of this makes you put on weight and doesn't do you any good. Imagine having 3 or 4 jars of jam strapped around your middle. Wouldn't it be good if you could get rid of them? Just for 1 month, try to be strong-minded and don't eat things like this. It's not as hard as you think, and I will tell you how I did it. Hello everyone. Today is number 1 in my series of 4 videos in the May makeover. And this one is how to cut down on sugar. I'm going to tell you why this is important, and I'll start with a little story. About 3 years ago, my doctor said to me, "You have got early onset type 2 diabetes, and I strongly advise you to cut down on sugar." But what he also said to me was, you actually have a choice. You can go on medication and eat what you like, but you'll probably be on medication for the rest of your life, or you can try to manage it yourself. So it won't surprise you to know that I chose the second way. And this is what I'm going to show you. Now, I know that you are probably not worried about diabetes at all, but the reason why it's a good idea to cut down on sugar is that you will automatically be cutting down on fat and carbohydrate at the same time. If you want to get rid of those jam jar sized fatty bits in the middle, there's one way to do it, and that is to eat less. It is a sad fact that if you want to be smaller, you have to eat smaller amounts. And I'm going to try and encourage you today by showing you some really exciting ways to do this. You may think at first that these amounts are really too small. I think that if you keep to it for a couple of weeks, you will begin to realize that this is helping you and it's actually making you feel better. So at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a really stunning little dessert. I have put the idea up before, but not in this form. And what you're going to see is something you and your friends would just love to eat at the end of the meal. So here it is, coming up. But first, some practical ideas. Instead of colourful sugary sweets, try one of these instead. Instead of sweet biscuits with your cup of tea, try these, chocolate pearls by Godiva. Just eat 3 or 4, they are great. When birthday cake is on offer, try hard and just take 1 spoonful. Don't just go without. Make something for yourself. These are little triangles of cheesecake with a coulis and berries. Now for the promised recipe. This is called chocolate delices, made from just 2 ingredients, plain chocolate and cream. You need 250 ml of single cream and the same quantity, 250 grams of plain chocolate. I've melted the chocolate gently in a microwave for less than a minute. Now I'm pouring in single cream. What I'm actually using is something called Alpro Single, which is plant-based, but you can just use ordinary dairy cream if you prefer. Now I'm mixing it, and you will suddenly see that as all the white goes in and you start stirring it into the dark chocolate, it becomes a lovely, smooth, dark mixture. I'm pouring this into some very tiny pots. Now, if you don't have these, don't worry, I'm going to show you what to do in a minute. But here I am just spooning it into the first few. Make space on the paper and just spoon out little piles of the chocolate. It's easy to do this, and they'll taste just as good as the one in pots. Put the tray in the fridge for them to set for a few hours. There is another way. Use an ice cube tray to make little blocks. Pop it in the freezer till they're firm. To make the chocolate swirls, you need to use a forcing bag. But if you don't have one, you can use just a plastic bag. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a little nozzle at the end, having cut a tiny hole at the bottom. And then I'm going to pour in the 4 ounces of melted chocolate. This is in addition to what you had before. Of course, if you don't have the nozzle, you just need to make a tiny hole at the bottom of the bag, and then you can squeeze out these rings. Here you can see the finished chocolate swirls. They've been in the freezer for a few hours, and all you need to do is to take a palette knife and then just lift them off onto your dessert. Here are the finished chocolate delices. On the bottom are the little blocks, the easiest way of doing them, done in an ice cube tray. Next to that, on the left, are the little mounds, and behind that, the tiny pots. Those both have the chocolate swirls on the top. It really does make it look special, and I don't think anyone would think this is not a proper dessert.